Thank you very much. Robert Cunningham with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, pipe and drums. Good morning. I'm Alan Zering, the Vice President of the Library's Board of Trustees. On behalf of the board, I'm delighted to welcome all of you here to our 62nd annual Veterans Day celebration. We are here this morning to pay special tribute to our veterans and to honor all members of the armed forces who have steadfastly served our country in both wartime and also in peacetime, and who continue to protect us while serving in the military today. Thank you for joining us. Would everyone please stand as the Diamond Oaks JROTC presents the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem. Will the audience please be seated? The brass ensemble will now play America the Beautiful. How about a round of applause? That was outstanding. At this time, I'd like to introduce the other library trustees and special guests. Please stand as you're introduced. Joining us here are the trustees, Robert Hendon, Monica Conan, and Barbara Trout. I'd also like to introduce Kim Fender, the Ava Jane Romaine Coombe Director of the Public Library of Cincinnati and Helena County. Special thanks are also extended to the Friends of the Public Library and the Library Programs Fund for their outstanding support, not only of this program, but of the many others that are made possible throughout the year. Here representing the Friends is the group president, Michael Kozlowski. It's our privilege today to honor the veterans who have protected our freedoms by their duty, courage, and selfless service. They are the real heroes, and we would like to recognize them at this time. Would all those who are currently serving in the active military duty please stand? Would all the veterans who served in World War II please stand? Those who served in the Korean War, please stand. Those who served in the Vietnam War, please stand. All the veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, please stand. Would all veterans of our armed forces now please stand? We deeply thank you for our service to our country. Let us do so now. As a special thanks for your service, the library has commissioned a commemorative challenge coin, a limited number of which will be available to veterans in attendance today. Challenge coins can be picked up at the table located behind you at the atrium. The band will now play the Armed Forces Salute. We ask that you stand and be recognized as your service song is played. Thanks to the ensemble again for such an excellent performance. Veterans Day is very special for us connected with the library. When the main library opened in 1955, it was dedicated as a war memorial to honor the servicemen and servicewomen from Hamilton County who gave their lives for our country. The names of the nearly 3,000 veterans who died while defending our freedom from World War I to the present are included in 2 volumes of the Book of Homage, which are on display in the Veterans Memorial exhibit. Facsimiles of the book are available to anyone who would like a copy after today's program. During your visit to the main library, we invite you to take time to view the new exhibit in the Veterans Memorial, commemorating the Vietnam War and showcasing memorabilia from that period. Special thanks to Jeffrey Liebrandt for his assistance with the display. Before I introduce today's keynote speaker, I would like to mention the library's Veterans History Project. The Veterans History Project, which is coordinated by the Library of Congress, calls for Americans to play a personal role in preserving the nation's history by collecting firsthand accounts of all those who defended the United States during wartime. As an official partner in this project, library staff recruits veterans and volunteer interviewers, records interviews, and sends duplicate copies of recordings and the documentary materials to the Library of Congress for inclusion in their archives and the national database. Our Veterans History website features a database of locally recorded interviews, documentary materials, and video stream versions of the selected interviews. Staff from the Genealogy and Local History Department will be available after today's program to answer questions and sign up veterans for interviews. It's now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, James Myers. He graduated from Gettysburg College in 1964 and launched his military service with the United States Marine Corps shortly after his graduation. Upon graduation as a second lieutenant from Officers Candidate School in 1966, he received small unit leadership training at the basic school at the Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia, followed by additional specialty training at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. He was deployed to the Republic of South Vietnam in 1967 at the age of 26 and assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division. He is a combat Vietnam veteran, participating in numerous tactical patrols and combat operations, including operations Tusculum, Independence, Union 1, Union 2, Dixie, Essex, and Hugh City. In addition, his expert marksmanship, badges, service, and campaign ribbons, Mr. Myers is also the recipient of several combat personal and unit awards, such as the Navy Achievement Medal with Combat 5, 2 Presidential Unit citations, the Combat Action Ribbon, and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry with Palm. His unit's action, as well as his personal 13-month combat tour, has been memorialized in author Lucia Vidi's book, Dr. Tom's War, A Daughter's Journey, published in 2010. In 1968, as a young captain and after his combat tour, he was selected as aide-de-camp for Major General Mike Ryan, the Deputy of Education, United States Marine Corps Base Quantico. Following his release from active duty in 1969, Mr. Myers served in the U.S. Secret Service as a special agent in Washington, D.C., and the White House during the Nixon and Ford presidencies. Serving a 25-year industrial career, Mr. Myers credits his rapid rise to leadership training he received in the United States Marine Corps. He has actively led at the executive level several companies known for developing bioactive implantable products to reconstruct damaged human tissues. He holds 4 patents in the field of implantable medical devices. He retired from the implantable medical device industry in 2004. He has served as a member of the board of directors in industry, venture capital, church, and charities. Mr. Myers is retired and lives in Blue Ash, Ohio, with his wife of 39 years, Susan Rose, with whom he is still raising the last of the ranks of their 6 children. One of his sons, Daniel, is a veteran of the Middle East conflicts, currently serves as a major in the United States Marine Corps Reserve. He stays active on government and military issues and has been an active member of the Association of Former Agents of the United States Secret Service, the Marine Corps League, and currently serves as the first Vice Commander of the American Legion Post 630 in Blue Ash. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming James Myers.
Thank you. Thank you. Semper Fi. All right. First, I have to say not only thank you, but what a pleasure it is to be with you this morning. I love this place. When we moved here in November of 2005, my wife and I, along with 5 of our 6 children, one of the first places we came to was this library. And it has been an iconic center for us, along with your Cincinnati Zoo, now our Cincinnati Zoo. I feel very much a part of this place, and aren't we fortunate to have not only this facility, but the staff that brings so many remarkable programs and displays in for each of us to be able to enjoy. Hats off to you. This is quite a day. Veterans Day and Memorial Day always hit me right where I live, and that's in the center of my heart. I feel very connected, certainly. So without further ado, I'm going to get right to the keynote address that I would hope to bring to you this morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, staff, employees of this fine institution, one of the best in the land, our public library of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, our distinguished guests, board members, my citizens here of Cincinnati, my fellow veterans, and our hope for years to come, our youth that are here with us today. I'm really glad to see that. The movie, the motion picture, Saving Private Ryan, resonated with me when I first saw it. It's the story about a young group, a small unit, that has been given the order to locate and retrieve a young fellow who is part of our fighting 101st Airborne, that they are to bring him back alive because he is the surviving son of 5 sons, 4 of which have been killed in World War II. And so we see the story unfold of where this small unit encounters many obstacles, none of which is going to prevent them from achieving their mission. Toward the end of this film, you see this small unit commander, this young captain who had been a school teacher, look at Private Ryan with eyes that are beginning to fade because he has been mortally wounded. And as he lay dying, having located Ryan, he reaches out and he grabs him and pulls him closer so that he can hear what he is going to say. He says 2 words. You remember what they are? Earn this. Earn this. It's just such a message that should resonate with us today. Let me ask you another question. What is the most valuable thing you own? Now let me ask you another question. What is the most valuable thing you own that you did not pay for? It's your freedom. But don't worry. Someone else has already paid the price. I think you know where I'm going with this. But perspective is a funny thing. People can look at the same thing and have an entirely different perspective. It reminds me of the sergeant major in the Marine Corps who wanted to give his men that experience outside, and the first time they would get out of the barracks and they would go out into the woods and and they would have a bivouac, and they did so, and lo, about, dark 30 in the morning, he decides that he was going to rack in the tent with a private and give him the benefit of his perspective and experience. And so he does this, and as the night creeps into morning, and morning gets darker, he awakens. And he says, "Private, look up and tell me what you see." And the private says, "Oh, wow, Sergeant Major, look at that. The stars in the heavens. I have never seen so many stars in the heavens." He said, "What else do you see?" He said, "There's glory there, sir. I feel very insignificant when I look at that heavenly orb there is just amazing." He says, "Sergeant, what else do you see?" He says, "I got nothing. What do you see, Sergeant Major?" He says, "Son, someone has stolen our tent." You see, we can look at the same thing and come up with different conclusions from time to time. And just as that private did from the sergeant major. You know, as a people, though, we have that tremendous thing of value called freedom. And our veterans really have stepped forward and paid the price. As a people, we enjoy a lot of freedom. We're free to travel coast to coast in this beautiful and vast land. Without restriction, we can worship openly at the church of our choice without fear of persecution. We're free to choose what we want to be. We're free to go to school and to select those career pathways that we would like to pursue. And this might come as a surprise to some, however, but did you know that that freedom isn't free? And today is a special day set aside that re-emphasizes that to each and every one of us. This morning there are men and women right here in this place who have helped to pay that price. Some have served or are now serving in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Marine Corps. Many of those who have fought in the past or current conflicts. Some may have been wounded physically, some mentally. But those protectors of freedom, we owe a price that we cannot pay. All of these, those freedoms that we enjoy today, we owe them a debt of gratitude. And as Americans, we're gathered together today, Veterans Day, in this place, at this hour, the 11th month of the 11th day, to pay respect to our veterans. Some people here this morning have even had their own lives affected by the loss of a loved one or a friend who are no longer with us. Because of their family and friends, they went on and stood the watch. I can only recall too vividly two of ours from within our unit. And I served in the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment of the 1st Marine Division. I recall those two national heroes who offered their lives to save those around them. One was a captain, one was a Lance Corporal, Captain Jim Graham, Lance Corporal Melvin Newland, one family man, one single man, each interrupting his own life, each dedicated to the protection of the freedoms we love. They paid the ultimate sacrifice. Each of them happened to receive the Medal of Honor. But I remember them and many more unsung heroes just like them today. There is irony in the memory of them and of so many like them. Can anything be more ironic than the lives of our nation's military? They love America, and yet they may spend multiple deployments in foreign lands, far from their home, far from our shores. They revere freedom, and yet they sacrifice their very own so that others may be free. They defend their own right and the rights of others to live as individuals, yet yield their own individuality in their protective cause. Perhaps most paradoxically of all, they value life, yet so bravely they ready themselves to risk life and limb, all in the service of their country. Regardless of whether we were on military exercises or maneuvers or fighting in a combat theater, our veterans always talk about the same thing. They can't wait to get home. They can't wait to get back into the real world. Can't wait to take their place among us once again. The more misery and hardship troops seem to endure, seem to make that homecoming all the more sweet, and the freedom under which we live to them, to each of these veterans, is sweeter still. In America, a nation that was founded on the precept of religious freedom, God offers the faith-based believer a confident assurance that when our earthly existence is over, we will leave our tents, our current home, and dwell forever in our permanent home. This life is only the life that we know, but there's hope, even promise of another life coming. Death is merely a transition in life, like getting orders to a new assignment. We who remain are left with sorrow, but we find comfort in the certainty of reunion and rest. America has long received thanks from most of those who have been cloaked in the freedom she offers and is known to render. And may each of us celebrate this Veterans Day as we prepare our collective thanks during one of my favorite holidays, Thanksgiving, when we all come together. And the real purpose is to gather together, to count your blessings, to give thanks to the Almighty for what we have been given and what we enjoy. So I would say to you today, what do you have that is the most valuable? Your freedom. How can you ever repay the debt that you owe for such an expensive gift? As the words of that young captain grabbed Private Ryan and pulled him closer, I would submit to you that we take to heart what he told that young private. Earn this. Earn this. Let your life so shine before men that they may see your good works. And if you're a faith-based person, you'll realize the end of that is, and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Live so that it meant something to you. Live so that this day means something to you. Live so that this freedom you can enjoy, because they gave up all of their tomorrows so we could enjoy days just like today. Thank a veteran today. God bless you, and God bless these United States of America. May we always stand free.
Each year, our Hamilton County veterans are remembered here at the main library with memorial wreaths presented by veterans organizations. Our first wreath will be presented for the Military Order of the Purple Heart, Chapter 3620, It will be presented by David Callahan and James Kennedy. Our next wreath will be presented on behalf of the Greater Cincinnati chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. It will be presented by Mr. James Shaw and Ms. Carol Quackenbush and Mr. Darrell Shirley. Ms. Peg Albert and Ms. Nelda Chandler will present a wreath for the Greater Cincinnati Women's American Legion Post 644. Our final wreath will be presented on behalf of the USS Hornet Breakfast Group. It will be presented by Mr. Ray Hughes. Thank you all for being with us here this morning. For 240 years, our brave fighting men and women have protected our freedoms with their duty, courage, and selfless service. The line of heroes continues unbroken to today. Currently, there are over 1.3 million active personnel serving in the U.S. Armed Forces throughout the world. The legacy of our veterans continues to inspire our military to answer the call of duty. We know that freedom isn't free, and the internal vigilance that is the price we must pay for our liberty. Here to light the flame of remembrance is Sergeant Thomas Reed of the Cincinnati Police Department. Sergeant Reed is just beginning his 45th year with the Cincinnati Police Department, has been a police sergeant for 23 years. He served in the 716th Military Police Battalion in Saigon, Vietnam, completed basic training at Fort Leonard Wood and AIT at Fort Gordon as an MP. Sergeant Reed.
I'd like this in honor of the vets that are gone to glory, the ones that are here today, and the ones that will be here.
Thank you, sir. This will bring our 72nd Veterans Day commemoration to a close. Thank you for joining us.